Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is that time of week where we have a guest join us coming to us live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Check him out on his Substack, Tom the Finder. Tom Haberstroh, what's going on?
It's good to be here, Bomani. You here for NBA Cup action?
Dude, I have to say, and we're going to talk, we got the NBA Cup. We got a lot of NBA stuff that we're going to get to, including some really interesting stuff about injuries. Wow, that sounded dark. But anyway, the NBA Cup just finished. The Knicks, raise that banner, boys. Raise that banner. The Knicks got the win over the Spurs. We'll talk about Victor Wembanyama in particular a little bit, in just a couple. But first, I don't know where you are on this. I was a skeptic of this in-season tournament. When it came around, it felt to me to be an example of Adam Silver listening to podcasts and Bill Simmons cooked something up. And he was like, hey, why not? Let's go ahead and give this a run. I didn't think that you would be able to create stakes around this. And I thought the stakes were necessary. But I also think I kind of sort of ignored that these are still professional athletes. And there are just some people who trophies. It doesn't matter what the trophy is. Like you told Michael Jordan that it was a trophy to go out there and win. Michael Jordan is like, they're all championships. What are you talking about? Yes, the NBA championship. Oh, this new one? Okay, it's a new championship. And the games feel like they have stakes. Like the Thunder Spurs game on Saturday night felt like a game in a tournament of sorts, right? Playoff game feels like you're going too far, but it felt like a game that mattered. And I don't know what the ratings are. I don't know what ticket sales are. I think that those things, you have to give those time. Like, this is a 20-year project to me, if this is what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what those numbers are immediately. But what I did notice, and I felt like this the first couple years of it, it feels like something. And I didn't expect that.
Yeah, there's a level of prestige in this that they've cooked up in 3 years running. And there isn't really any sort of like postseason importance. Like, you're not getting kind of any sort of carrot at the end of this season that matters for playoff positioning or whatnot. The prize is money. The prize is prestige. It's a cup. It's a trophy, and it's also an opportunity to go to Vegas. And I think that's an underplayed element of this, is that in the NBA schedule, it is an absolute grind. It's a grind for these teams. Like, to get up for November games, December games, and to try to do this and realize, man, we got 5 more months until the playoffs. It is an absolute grind for these guys, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's tough to go through an NBA season and realize, man, I got to get up for this game against the Wizards on a Wednesday night. The NBA Cup breaks up the season and gives them something with stakes to look forward to and a little bit of respite from the 82 game grind, where that you go to the Las Vegas and you go to the NBA Cup, and it's you look at courtside, who's sitting courtside. It's a big deal. It's all the greats, the NBA greats. It feels bigger. I think Amazon Prime taking this and having their production value on the game is much better than I think people realize, is when you have, Steve Nash or Blake Griffin, Dirk Nowitzki, and Adam. So Adam Silver was, I think, at the post-game show for Amazon Prime. He's like, hey, I just want to give you guys a shout out. You guys do a great job on this broadcast. And he gave a lot of jabs. He's subtweeting ESPN on this one, because I think he was trying to say, we need to build up these games, and you do a great job of building up these games and making it feel important. You're on the court. You're on the court pregame in ways that I feel like the NBA needed the NBA Cup to keep people invested in November and December of the NBA schedule. Because 82 games, I think we can all agree. I mean, we'll have this discussion later. It's too many fucking games. It's too many games. And so how do you raise the stakes to make these games meaningful? It's the NBA Cup is one of those answers.
So one thing about professional sports leagues, I think it's fair to say this generally, but I can definitely say this with more firsthand experience about the NBA. The NBA as a league, and when I say the league, I don't just mean the business entity or the people who are playing now. I mean league in a very big, broad sense. Like in the league in the sense that Robert E. Lee Bob Pettit is still an NBA guy, right? Like the whole NBA. They love a good weekend to come hang out with each other, right? It don't matter if it's Summer League. It don't matter if it's the All-Star game, if it's the NBA Finals. former NBA players love to go places where the NBA is. Because one big thing about being a former NBA player, I don't know if you play this game at Summer League, it's NBA bingo. There's no telling what former NBA player you're going to see walking around, former coach, right? And they just sit and eat at the Shake Shack or any other little place that you might be, right? Just out there hanging out. They love that. And so you tell them, oh, did you say Las Vegas? I
Mm-hmm.
think I could find a way to get down there. Vegas might be dead, but now when we show up,
Yeah. I mean, well, I think what's also interesting about this is the NBA is moving, seems to be intimating that they're moving away from Vegas in the future, that it might not be back in Vegas, which is, I don't know what to make of that other than Adam Silver said before the game on Amazon Prime, gave him a little scoop here, is that the NBA is considering moving the NBA Cup to a kind of a hallowed grounds in college hoops, maybe some a certain arena where the commissioner might have gone to college.
oh no, you got to be fucking
And
kidding
he
me.
said
No.
some historical venues in college hoops, we might be moving towards that. So, Bomani, as soon as I knew that I was going to be on today's show and we were going to talk about the NBA Cup, how do you feel about Cameron Indoor or Allen Fieldhouse? I'm going to guess it's Cameron Indoor that Adam Silver's, intimating here. How do you feel about them hosting at Cameron Indoor in Durham for the NBA
Okay,
Cup?
so I don't have a great handle on how big Allen Fieldhouse is. And I want to be clear. Cameron is the single best place for a college basketball game. Hard stop, right?
Mm.
This isn't just about me hating Duke. Get the fuck out of here, man. No. No. This is preposterous on like 85 different. First of all, it's a really uncomfortable arena. Like, let's get that part there right now.
Mhm.
It is not an NBA arena. It's not up to the standards of what the NBA is. Now,
Also, the hoops come down from the ceiling. Like
yes,
it's not a standard NBA stanchion hoop situation. This is very much, if you put NBA guys in that arena, it's going to feel very different. And I don't think that's disqualifying Bomani, because we see it in football. They play in very different conditions, snowing, raining, what have you. In baseball, they had the Field of Dreams game in the middle of frickin' Iowa. So, like, I don't think that they're really, it would be unique in that the NBA Cup in certain situations might be in a different arena basket situation, environmentally different. But it is going to be very different compared to like an NBA arena. It's going to
no,
feel very different than Madison Square
it
Garden.
would feel amateur. Like, it's just not. And again, I would say that about if it was in the Dean Dome. I would say this if they're going to Pauley Pavilion. Like, I don't really care. I just don't. This is beneath the standard of the league to me. But for those of you who don't know, unfortunately for us, Adam Silver did go to Duke. And so yeah,
There's that. Well, and camera crazies, the NBA doesn't have really have that. Right?
The worst part is those jokers might just show up and be rooting against everybody. You know what I'm saying? Just being annoying, thinking that it's about.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry to drop that bomb on you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it is weird that the NBA is pivoting away from Vegas and in ways that suggest to me, look, they're not going to go to Madison Square Garden on this, because I do think that the NBA doesn't want to really go to an NBA arena because it creates
site is necessary.
Yeah. It's just Dolan getting the benefit of being able to sell out Madison Square Garden for an extra venue, an extra game. Doesn't seem like the other owners would really go for that, which is why I think the Indiana hosting it or somewhere else in the NBA cities doesn't really make much sense. But that's why I think all signs are pointing to this being at Cameron Indoor next year going forward.
I think, and I said this earlier, this is a slow build, right? Like, there's going to be a point where you look up and there are kids who dreamed of playing in the NBA Cup, right? Like, that's what I always say, when you move a professional sports franchise into another city, my favorite example is the Arizona Cardinals. And if you remember, for the first 15 years of their existence, especially when they were in the same division with the Cowboys, that was a road game for them every year because that city was full of Cowboys fans. It takes a generation to build up fans so where your local team is fully local, right? In that way. I feel like this is very similar. Take the time, make it such that the way you do with Summer League, Summer League is something that for people who like to do it every year, it's like, yo, are we going to go to Summer League? Okay, cool. It's in Vegas. You know exactly what it is. Even if you don't sell a bunch of tickets, you can get people to actually wind up turning up. If you put this in an NBA city and the host city is not in it, people ain't coming. Like you talk about putting this in Indiana. I ain't going to Indiana in December. What are you, high? This is ridiculous. Stay here, build it up, make it feel like something. My guess is this sounds a lot more like trying to negotiate a little bit with Las Vegas, or Las Vegas trying to play a little hardball, because right now times is a little hard down there. I think the NBA feels like they got a little leverage over Las Vegas right now.
Well, I also think that the NBA Cup is awesome. Like, I just want to say that right here.
Yes.
Like, I was a big fan of this because the alternative is what? Like, you're arguing the alternative is that they just play regular season games, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody is out here watching these type of games in the regular season with the same kind of numbers and the same kind of passion and the same kind of pomp and circumstance for a regular season game that doesn't count for much in terms of like the actual stakes of the game. Whereas this, it feels big. And Jalen Brunson after the game accepting the MVP trophy and they're celebrating at half court. It felt big. It felt like they really wanted this. They stormed the court after they won in ways that I feel like the NBA needs to project this image that this stuff matters. These games matter. And last year when Giannis, he won it and he was like, yo, everyone chill. We haven't won a championship. This is not the NBA Finals. I was like,
bad look. Yeah, you know who got it right though? LeBron James. One of the best things that happened to this cup was the first year somebody who understands how the money works was like, hey, we're going to sell this. We're going to act like, and they're the Lakers, okay? They've won 18 of these things. They were like, no, we're going to act like this is a thing. And I think that was important. I think context for me, and I changed the way I looked at it, and it really hit me in the Saturday night game. You know what it felt like? It felt like the Great Alaska Shootout or the Maui Invitational. I mean that in a good way, right? Like every year it would, for those, and I guess they still do these tournaments, but they're not at the deal they used to be. But over Thanksgiving or over Christmas, you had these holiday tournaments, right, in basketball. And that's where you would look up and be like, hey, Carolina's playing against the Fab Five at the Maui Invitational. Like, I still remember that game on grainy HSE on cable. But every year it was a thing. And when I was watching that game on Thursday, which felt they'd had stakes, like those dudes cared about that game, it was like, oh, sometimes you just got to do a little tweak to it, and now this feels intense. And that game between two teams that might wind up in the Western Conference Finals, that game felt intense, especially since my guy Victor hates the Thunder. I don't know how the Thunder feel about the Spurs. I know Chet hates Victor and Victor hates Chet. I felt like Victor hates the Thunder and the Spurs do too.
Victor gets it, doesn't he? He gets it. Like, we need more Victor being spicy with his comments and messy with his comments about ethical basketball. Like, after that game, feels good to play pure ethical basketball. Yes. And we're about that brand of basketball. I was like, yo, Victor is here for this NBA life. We need more of this. Like, we thought that this was going to come from an American player like Anthony Edwards. And I'm like, oh, out here, Victor Wembanyama is talking about this as in a way that the NBA needs a lot more antiseptic talking about trash talk, the other players and Chet Holmgren, and they do not like each other. Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren, they go back to even before the NBA when they were playing Team USA versus Team France. When they were teenagers, they went head to head, and it was an arrival. Like, watching Chet Holmgren, and Brian Windhorst talks about this all the time. It's like watching Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama playing as teenagers against each other felt like the future, right? It felt like this is going to be the NBA future. These long 7-foot guys who can play point guard, shoot, can do everything, super skilled bigs that should be in different eras playing back to the basket around the paint. They're playing like guards out here. And it feels like this is the next rivalry is OKC and the Spurs. And just like LeBron losing to the Dallas Mavericks in 2011, sometimes you need your ego just kicked down a little bit before you can really, really take that next step. And I think Victor Wembanyama doing that to the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that he does not like, he does not care for, and he's willing to say it out loud. I think that plus the Knicks loss, I think might be the best outcome for the NBA in terms of the story. Like, Victor Wembanyama is going to hurt after this one. And I think that Victor Wembanyama, what he did against the Thunder, man, it's just great theater. I can't wait to see what happens next in the next chapter between Wemby and Chet and OKC.
Also, remember that thought you just had there, but in an analogous situation when France is kicking our keisters in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Remember, 2024 in Paris was a very similar situation to what you were outlining right here. He forgets nothing. I think the best part of that game against the Thunder is when he hit that shot over Alex Caruso. Well, no, the best part was him clapping every time Chet missed a free throw. But him pointing at Alex Caruso and calling him a little bitch while he ran down the floor. And I don't care how tall you are, man. Ain't nobody from France talking to me like that, brother. Like that's like your passport cedes your right to speak to me in such terms, monsieur.
Yeah, yeah, and the block against Chet at the end where he was just like, "Yeah, this is mine. You're going to try to back me down, and I'm going to sun you." And I wrote about this for TomTheFinder.com, my Substack. They didn't challenge him at the rim the entire game. OKC, they tried to shoot their way to try to go over the top on Wemby. He finished the game.
Hold on, to be clear, as I read this article, when you say they didn't try to challenge him at the rim at all, how many shots did they take with him at the rim in that game?
Zero.
Literally.
Zero. The player tracking cameras, they have this stat called defensive field goal percentage at the rim, and they track how many times you are within 5 feet of the basket and 5 feet of the shooter in an NBA game. And there were zero such shots in the game against OKC when Wemby was near the basket. Now, there's some quibble with that on like, was he 5 feet away or 6 feet away? Okay, but the point of the matter is that Luke Cornett got challenged 8 times in the game in his minutes, and Victor Wembanyama was a zero. Zilch, nada in that game. And so what OKC tried to do was what the Knicks tried to do in a sense, where we're going to shoot and we're going to neutralize Wemby in some ways. But are we ready to talk about this Knicks game? Because I'm here.
Let's go. It's right fast because we talked about it. I talked about it on Monday, but the plus 20 that Victor had in 7 minutes in the first half of that game was unreal. Like everything changed when he came into that game. It was kind of the opposite in this game, where he was a plus 21 in the Thunder game. It was a minus 18 in this Knicks game.
Yeah, and it felt like that. I felt like when I was watching Wemby in this game, it was a different player. And we learned afterwards, after the game, he was tearing up at the press conference, and he said that he lost someone today. We later find out that his grandmother passed away, and he found out about it before the game on Tuesday morning. And I'll have it in my notes just as something that I wrote even before I found out that news. I was like, Victor is playing like he's doing hero ball on every single play, trying to block everything and trying to shoot threes and try to play hero ball every time down the floor. And it felt like he was kind of off his game. Like he felt like he wanted it a little too much, in the sense that he was out here. There was a play where Tyler Kolek is driving to the hoop. He leaves OG Anunoby on the left corner three and tries to collapse to block Tyler Kolek, who he knows is not going to try on Victor Wembanyama, because that's Tyler Kolek. This guy who's going to have 15 assists and no turnovers in a game, and that's his idea of a good outing. And he leaves OG open in the corner in a big moment, and OG gets a wide open three. And I'm watching it, I'm like, man, it feels like he's not making the right decisions out there. Like he's going after everything, and it's kind of like he's over eager to make the big home run play. Took a lot of threes, a lot of like hero ball threes in this game. It didn't seem like the same dude that we watched on Saturday night against OKC. And I don't want to belabor the point, but I remember when I was 21 years old and I lost my grandmother, I was a mess. I was a mess for a week after that happened. I don't think I cried that hard like in my life up until that point when I lost my grandmother at 21 years old. Not to make excuses for Victor Wembanyama's performance, but it explains something. When I'm watching him, I'm like, man, he does not feel like he's making the right decisions out there. And that's how I felt the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. And not to take anything away from the Knicks, right? Because I hate that I missed that game that the Knicks played against the Magic, because I was at the Garden on Sunday when they played, where Desmond Bane did that weirdo move and threw the ball at OG. Like, I was a little curious to see what that was going to look like coming back around. But hey, man, there's no reason that the Knicks can't go to the NBA Finals, right? I feel like every Knicks game is just, that's the question you ask yourself. It's like, oh, maybe. I mean, I guess you could say that about just about the whole East, because somebody's got to win it. but I don't have a compelling argument why not the Knicks.
I think they're the favorites, and I think they're the clear favorites. You know, the Detroit Pistons have not gotten to the conference finals yet with this group. They're a young team. The Knicks are not a young team. And I don't know if you recognize this, but Mike Brown did not play Mikal Bridges in clutch situation last night. Did not play him. That is not something Tom Thibodeau would have even dreamed of doing last year. Wouldn't even think of doing last year. And Tyler Kolek was balling. They played Jalen Brunson and Tyler Kolek together in the NBA Cup championship for long stretches, and it worked. And it worked because of Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench and getting 10 offensive rebounds in 18 minutes and just giving it to Victor underneath the basket, where, again, Victor was out here trying to block everything out of position, and it left him liable for all of these offensive rebounds by Mitchell Robinson, who would kick it out to three-point shooters, and Jordan Clarkson dagger three. Jordan Clarkson dagger three. OG Anunoby dagger three. This was by design. Clearly, Mike Brown was out here being like, I want to be able to play Mitchell Robinson and capitalize on some of these Victor Wembanyama swatting and getting out of position and try to get these offensive rebounds and kick out to shooters. The Knicks do that better than anybody. They have more three-pointers made after offensive rebounds than any team in the NBA. They shot 47% on threes off of offensive rebounds. And the reason is it's very strategic. A lot of teams work very hard to get an open three-pointer on a given possession. You know when you get a lot of open three-pointers on a given possession? When everybody's crashing the boards and you get that offensive rebound and you kick out wide open threes on offensive rebounds. Some coaches don't like to do that because it feels like, hey, man, let's try to work a better shot here. But the Knicks, they love this. They love it. They have like 20 more three-pointers off of offensive rebounds than any other team in the NBA. And clearly that was the differentiator, was Tyler Kolek making the extra pass, Mitchell Robinson getting those offensive rebounds. And, man, Jordan Clarkson. You think it matters to Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek, this NBA Cup, the way that they played and celebrated? Man, they loved it out there.
First of all, a picture of Jordan Clarkson when he first gets to the NBA versus a picture of Jordan Clarkson now is still hilarious to me. Like, you normally see that happen to people in college, right? Like, it looked like he got sent to juvie for a crime he did not commit and then just had to survive and came out like a whole entirely different person. I don't know anything about him at all. I don't know if he talked the same as he used to, but you go look at Lakers Jordan Clarkson versus this scared straight didn't take Jordan Clarkson, and it is a discussion for a different day. Offensive rebound is coming back. Like, people have been writing about this, and the numbers are showing it's not dissimilar to the NFL, where running the ball on people has come back. Defenses have gotten small, and so now the move at the margins is to get a little bigger and go run over them. Offensive rebounding seems to be coming back as a thing, crashing the boards, where teams like, I remember Budenholzer was the first person I really remember who was just like, yeah, we're not getting offensive rebounds. We're sending three people back, and we're going to stop transition baskets. However, the NBA is more fun with offensive rebounding because the NBA might bring back offensive rebounders. Like, all these tall guys who can do a zillion things are great. We need an Oakley. You know what I'm saying? We just need some guys who are like Mitchell Robinson is a great example. I just run hard and crash the boards. Those guys make life better.
We want physicality in the NBA. It's one of the reasons why I think the NBA has gone way too far in the offensive-minded philosophy and freedom of movement, where it feels like a lot of times the referees are just calling fouls on guys just putting their shoulder into you, and the defender's like, I mean, how am I supposed to defend this? And a lot of times I feel like physicality was being rewarded in the playoffs last year and towards the second half of the season when Adam Silver had admitted, like, yeah, we decided to make a switch which is kind of crazy for a commissioner to admit that they decided to change the rules without telling all the teams about how they're going to make a rule change mid-season. But I do think that we want more physicality, which is clear. I think from fans, they want none of this grifting to be rewarded when it comes to, driving and James Harden-ification of driving and all that. But I also think offensive rebounds and how it gets kind of physical underneath, I think fans want that. I think teams want to be able to play offensive rebound game and try to be physical out there without fearing that you're going to get called for a foul. So Mitchell Robinson, Victor Wembanyama going at it underneath is good for basketball. It's also good for the sport. And I think fans, NBA fans or casual sports fans, whatever large group of sports fans you want to bring to the NBA back, I think physicality is a big reason why you might be able to recruit them back to the NBA.
So this is tangential and kind of going backwards before we go into break. It's something I meant to get to, but I lost track of. Um, as much as we talked about that as Victor versus the Thunder, the kids on the Thunder seem to be different young men than many of the kids on the Spurs, shall we say. There is a great contrast that's going on right now. Like those top four teams in the West are fun to me because they're all so different, right? Like you got Jokic and the guys around Jokic. That's no shade to them. It's just that like Jokic is the numbers he's putting up are absurd. The advanced numbers are absurd. It just makes it hard for me to remember anybody else is on the team. The Rockets, a zillion condors, right? Everybody's really, really tall. They got a bunch of those dudes. And they have Kevin Durant, who's not the old Kevin Durant, but he's still Kevin Durant, right? And with an Ime Udoka mentality of a basketball team. The Thunder, a bunch of really good, nice young men. And the Spurs, and them boys go hard.
Yeah.
Like they are coming for you, so to speak.
Hey, did you realize that Stephon Castle is a Wake Forest, the son of a Wake Forest player, Stacey Castle, who played with Rodney Rogers and Randolph Childress, transferred out after his sophomore year. But it on the broadcast, I think they were talking about after the broadcast that his father played in the ACC, and I was like, oh, so he picked up a couple things from Rodney Rogers because the way that Stephon Castle plays, man, it is just like he's a second-year player, won 2 championships at UConn, but I'm sitting here watching Stephon Castle. I feel total confidence when he has the ball.
Yeah.
And it is very weird to watch guys that young, even Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper is a rookie out here, and he just led the Spurs in scoring in this NBA Cup championship. I love the Spurs. I put them on my title contender list before the season in my title tiers column that I do every Monday. Before the season, I said the Spurs are going to make a huge leap this year. And Mitch Johnson, the coach who's replacing Greg Popovich full time, he's going to win Coach of the Year. And they're making me look really smart with that prediction, except for on Tuesday night. They kind of fell flat in the fourth quarter, and it was the Mitchell Robinson and Tyler Kolek show.
By the way, rest in peace, Rodney Rogers. I didn't have a chance to talk about this on this show. And for those of you who are too young to remember Rodney Rogers as a player, NBA Rodney Rogers was cool. College Rodney Rogers was everything, right? Like that's we no longer. I don't think we college basketball doesn't operate in the space now where you just have these guys that were like your favorite college player. And so the thing with Rodney was he's an ACC legend in the sense that like nobody hates Wake Forest, and so people did not think that he was going to qualify. Therefore, most of the schools didn't really recruit him, but Wake Forest did. They got it together. He wound up in school. So he wound up being this player that nobody rooted against because nobody was mad because he didn't go to their school, for example. And he was a force of nature. He was big. He was a little stocky, right? Like college power forward size. But he was sturdy. He was explosive. He could shoot. He could do 360 dunks in games. It was all of it. And he is Durham, North Carolina's basketball player. Like he's the local guy for people in Durham. And you see him around and everything. And it was a tragedy, obviously, when he got in the accident in the ATV and that left him paralyzed. But when he died a couple weeks ago, I was like, probably more closer to a month or so now. But it was just like, oh, no. For those of you who do not understand, this one hurts because this was a guy that you had to love if you watched him play basketball.
Yeah, and I gotta say the Durham Bull, Rodney Rogers. When people say like, "Who's Zion Williamson?" and we would make the comp to Rodney Rogers, people thought we were crazy. But if you saw Rodney Rogers at Wake Forest, you'd realize there aren't too many people who were built like that who could do the things like he did. And he was an incredible player. I think a teammate. A lot of people love playing with Rodney Rogers, who was 6th man of the year in the NBA. And I just think it's tragic what happened to him because he was so invincible. Like that dude was as strong as anybody to come through the NBA, to have the ATV accident, basically put him on a ventilator for 17 years. And as someone who has been around a loved one on a ventilator for several years, I can't imagine the strength of he and his wife going through that. And I'm glad we got a moment to talk about Rodney Rogers because talk about beloved players in the NBA and basketball. There aren't too many people who are more beloved than the Durham Bull, Rodney Rogers.
Let me tell you this too. My favorite Rodney Rogers detail, and I don't know how much this was made to be. Rodney took care of his money, but I'll never forget this once, man. I was at the Circle K on Highway 55 in Cornwallis, and I'm coming out and walking in is Rodney Rogers in his work clothes for the city of Durham. He was a heavy equipment operator. Like, that was just how he decided to pass his time. It wasn't that he was broke or anything like that. He eventually became a supervisor. right? But
Wow.
that's how Durham Rodney Rogers was, in case you were curious. But yeah, rest in peace to him. Coming up next, we got some more NBA talk. It's the holiday season, and it's time to make dreams come true. To make these holiday favorites, it takes a team of talented people, from actors to editors to props people to sound crew and more. And when it comes to building such a team, whether it's for the entertainment industry or a wide range of other industries, you need to hire the right people. The best way to do that is with ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/Bomani. You can find out right away how many job seekers in your area are qualified for your role. With ZipRecruiter's advanced resume database, you can instantly unlock top candidates' contact info. Make your hiring a little merrier with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Just go to this exclusive web address right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. As we approach the new year, it's never too early to take control of your health. Like, what habits can you start today? AG1 is one of the easiest daily health habits that you can start even before the new year. But what is AG1? AG1 is the daily health drink that combines your multivitamin, pre- and probiotics, superfoods, and antioxidants into one simple green scoop. It's one of the easiest things you can do to support your body every day. AG1 Next Gen contains more vitamins and minerals than ever before, and is clinically shown to fill common nutrient gaps. AG1 can help you stay proactive while traveling, working long hours, or managing a busy family schedule. If you use my link, you'll get the newest formula and best price available for AG1 Next Gen right now. AG1 has their best offer ever. If you head to drinkag1.com/Bomani, you'll get the welcome kit, a morning person hat, a bottle of Vitamin D3+K2, an AG1 Flavor Sampler, and you'll get to try their new sleep supplement AGZ for free, which has been a game changer for my nightly routine. That's drinkag1.com/Bomani for $126 in free gifts for new subscribers. All right, we are back with Tom Haberstroh talking NBA. On Tuesday, Adam Silver did the press conference ahead of the NBA Cup, and he talked about injuries. And he made the assertion that they've got the data to indicate that there are no more injuries this season than there has been in any previous century. But you've been on this research-wise for a very long time, and you had a very interesting point about a bit of rhetorical sleight of hand that our commissioner was running.
Yeah, so last week I wrote a big feature for Yahoo Sports about the 2 scariest words in the NBA right now, which is calf strain. Calf strain. We've seen more calf strains than we have in a very long time. If ever, injury data doesn't go back all the way to, historical data, but I can comfortably say that we've never seen more calf strains in the NBA than we have this season. And statistically, through 20 games, according to InStreetClothes.com's Jeff Stotts, who's the best, most preeminent injury tracker in sports, he found that the incidence of calf strains in the NBA through the first 20 games is up 40% compared to last year. But here's the thing. The time lost due to those injuries is up by 200%, Bomani.
Ooh.
So what's happening there? Teams, I talked to coaches around the league, talked to the medical side, sports docs, some sports docs that are even on the NBA's payroll, a consultant to the NBA, Dr. Richard Ferkel, who operated on Klay Thompson's Achilles tear and also on Steph Curry's ankle injuries, DeMarcus Cousins' Achilles tear. Like, this is the preeminent foot and ankle doc in the NBA. They're all saying something's up. And we're all kind of terrified of the idea that today's game is just too much force on these bodies. Too many games, too many up-tempo games. Like, the game is faster. And there's so many three-pointers now, Bomani, that they got to defend 40 feet out now in ways that you would see a lot of pick-and-roll actions back in Rodney Rogers' days. It was 12 feet in, right? You set a screen at the top of the key, and then you go downhill at the rim. Now you're going downhill, building up speed. The runway is 50 feet long. A lot of these screens are now being set at half court. And so think about the geometry of the game and the force that these guys are playing with, where you get downhill now, Bomani, and you're running full speed for 40 feet instead of 10 feet. And you got to stop on a dime. Like these D-cells that you see Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Denny Avdia, Stephon Castle. James Harden was great at this when he was at his peak. The D-cells, the step backs, all of this is in the stew for why we're seeing more calf strains and Achilles tears. There were 7 Achilles tears last year, which was a league record, and 3 were on the same team, the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Isaiah Jackson, and James Wiseman. Bomani, how many 23-year-olds can you remember tearing their Achilles like James Wiseman did? It's just a very old person injury that we would hear when we were growing up, of like our uncle who went out here and tried to play pickup basketball, or your aunt who was going to play tennis and tore their Achilles. We're seeing teams now holding out their guys longer in these calf strains, and the latest ones are Evan Mobley and Austin Reeves. They're holding them out for longer, and I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of PTSD that you see from Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA Finals tearing his Achilles after a calf strain, and also Damian Lillard tearing his Achilles after his blood clot in his calf. You saw Jason Tatum tearing his Achilles. So when Adam Silver is coming out here on the moments before the NBA Cup final, in which Victor Wembanyama is coming off the bench because of a calf strain, he's saying we haven't seen injuries this low in 3 years, but he is concerned about the soft tissue injuries. And I have the data to prove it. These soft tissue injuries are knocking these players out for much longer, and stars are not playing nearly as much as they used to. And that is a big problem for the NBA, because the stars are what makes money in the NBA. These contracts, Amazon Prime, NBC, they're not shelling out billions of dollars to watch the B teams out here. They're shelling out billions of dollars because Victor Wembanyama and John Morant and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But as of last week, none of those guys were playing because of these calf strains. And it's a big, big problem in the NBA.
And it seems somewhat unsolvable because they're not going to dial back the style of play. Like we talked about this with Vinny Goodwill last week, that once new technology is introduced into any system or any universe, people are loath to dial it back, no matter how much harm it, ultimately proves to cause. This is the smartphone dilemma. Is that, boy, we sure need to use these a little bit more, but it can do so many cool things, and people are not going to stop doing the cool things. The game evolved to a place where, I think another analogy, a point that I make that I think is similar on this is, the reason they didn't pass the ball in football as much in the past as they did now is passing is really, really hard. And so they figured out ways to make passing easier. But as it goes, they're like, why can't we develop more good quarterbacks? Because this is unnatural, what we're asking for them to do, right? The technology has gone to a place that the people can't keep up with. And the technology of basketball, which is these schemes and in part like the size of the players and everything else, it can't keep up, but it's not going to get dialed back. So what do? Do you turn it now into a sport that runs like hockey, where you have like 3 lines of people and they only play like 20 minutes a game? Like, who's the coach with the Grizzlies, who's starting off with his approach this year of, we're just going to play really hard for 4 minutes at a time? I don't think that's a sustainable way to play. I don't even know if he's still doing that nonsense. But that was his plan coming into it. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do now that all these advents have been introduced, how you can get it to dial back.
You cut 20 games from the schedule. That's how you do it.
Yeah, well, there's that.
In Tuesday's press conference, Adam Silver said, we're studying this. We are concerned that star players are not playing as much as they used to. That's a real problem. But he said there is no silver bullet here. And I was wondering if that was a lowercase s silver or an uppercase s, because there is a silver bullet, and it's to reduce the games in the schedule to build in more recovery days. And I think the NBA has a marketing problem, and rest. It's not rest. It's not like they're kicking back and by the beach, by the pool, and resting their bodies. It's recovery. The bodies can't simply keep up with the pace of the game and the travel and the 82 games. And you can say, hey, back in the day, look, man, if you stack up the number of possessions that was in the 98 NBA Finals between the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls, and you stack up against the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, it is Mount Everest to Mount McKinley. It is 2 very different equations we're talking about, the number of possessions that are in every game. So you can say, hey, MJ was out here averaging 40 minutes a game, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's averaging 30, and they can't play 82 games. If you look at the number of possessions that these guys are playing, running up and down the floor, and mind you, possessions is not some ephemeral idea. Possessions is running up and down the floor. It is trips up and down the floor. It's as if we added 2 innings to a baseball game and wondered why all these pitchers weren't throwing complete games anymore. It's because the unit of measurement in the NBA, yes, people talk about 48 minutes, it's still 48 minutes, but it's not in the number of possessions. The game is so much faster. The geometry of the game is so much wider that you're asking bigs to play like guards out here and defend the 3-point line when Kevin McHale wasn't out here defending the 3-point line and pick and roll coverages like they do now. It's so different of a sport. And I think the NBA has to get everybody together. I'm talking stakeholders on the ownership side. I'm talking the medical side, the players side, and have them come together and figure out a way to reduce games in the schedule without losing revenue. And that, as we're both econ guys, figuring a way to lower the supply of games, but raising the demand. I feel like there's a sweet spot here, but man, these franchise values are going way up, and I don't know if all of these owners are going to be trying to hear that.
Yeah, we are at a point of what they call Pareto optimality, right? Like you are trying to figure out how to make this one thing better without hurting this other thing, right? And that's their trick bag. And for context for people, the top 5 seasons for fastest pace of play in the NBA, top 15, excuse me, are all before 1990. Number 16 is 2019-2020 season. And then number 17 is this season currently. I bring that up to say the pace of the game in the 80s and 70s and 80s was a fast up and down, but the side-to-side game was entirely different. And I think that's a big change that's happening now is what is demanded of you. Not just that it's moving fast, going back and forth, but what you got to do once you get to that other end of the floor. That part has changed a great deal. But you're right, you can't have your best players not just dropping like flies, but they're young players. And this isn't like the NFL where you just roll another guy up and then, oh, suddenly we have another star, right? Like the NFL is built for those guys to swap in and out like that. This league ain't that. And you hope they figure it out soon because they got a great rookie class in the NBA this year. A really, really good one. And you can't help but wonder if they're just going to be dropping by the time they're 26.
Yeah, and that's what the worry is that not only are you seeing a lot more injuries in the NBA, but when they come into the league, they've got a lot of specialization injuries, right? Is that when we were growing up, Bomani, if you were good, you're a great athlete, you're playing 4 different sports year round. Not year round, but in seasons.
Yes.
You're going to play basketball, you're going to play football, you're going to play baseball, you're going to play lacrosse, hockey, whatever it is. But now these guys are coming into the NBA with like way more mileage on those tires and joints than you'd expect given that they're 20 years old. And so that's the worry is like for the NBA, and Adam Silver talked about it, Vinny Goodwill asked the question, shouts to Vinny on this, is like, what do you attribute this to? And Adam Silver said, you know, we have to look at this holistically, not just at the NBA, but coming into the league. It's not an easy problem to solve. I'm writing about it because I'm noticing the medical data and I'm noticing all the injury data and seeing that star players now, Bomani, are missing 1 out of 3 games, whereas just a couple years ago, it was 1 out of 5. 1 out of 3 games a star player is going to miss in the NBA now, which is not good for ticket prices. And it's not a short-term hit. I think it's a long-term hit that fans, when they go and they take their kids to a game thinking LeBron's going to play or that Victor Wembanyama is going to play, and they don't because they're on the second night of a back-to-back, and you're like, I just paid $400 to take my family to this game, and the guy wasn't there, that's a long-term hit. That means that ticket buyer is going to think twice the next time he can take his family to an NBA game, and he's going to probably spend that money elsewhere. And that's what the NBA doesn't want. They don't want these fans who would punt down $400 to go to a game and take their family and potentially lose that young kid fan for life because they realize, hey, man, it doesn't matter to these games. Even though that's not true, it's just the injuries, the bodies aren't able to withstand 82 games like they used to. So it's a real big problem. And I do think that the NBA has the data. They just got to figure out how we negotiate this with the players union and the ownership, and all of the facts and the data has to come together to find a solution. And this is not easy for Adam Silver.
Yeah, because most of those players would not give back money to get more time off.
You have to make a compelling argument that they wouldn't lose money. And so that's where you got to get the best economists in the room or best salesman in the room to explain to the players union that if we reduce the games in the schedule, revenue wise, we can make that up on the back end with national TV games or with more eyeballs on the games because each game matters more and there's not back to backs anymore, that more people are going to watch. And they have the storylines like I keep coming back to this. In the NFL, in fantasy football, I am constantly looking at my app to the lead up 4 days before the game to see who's going to play. The storylines are about the Saturday and Sunday football games or college football in the NFL, and they breathe these stories and they talk about these stories and the matchups and the dynamics at play for days on end. We don't have that in the NBA, and I feel like if we reduce the schedule down, we're going to have a lot more energy and a lot more stakes to these games because there's time to talk about it. And that oxygen, I think, is going to be a real big part of this equation going forward.
All right, I want to talk about another story that is interesting that has come out, which is that Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob, for those of you who don't know, is the owner of the Golden State Warriors. I mean, that's a first-class dork right there. But he's a dork that I have to give him this. When they were winning 50 games and they were telling us that Mark Jackson was holding them back and he was making all these faces at them during games, I was like, well, how good do you expect Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to be? And score one for Joe Lacob, right? he was there, but then he went too far. And he said they were light years ahead of everybody else. And those light years didn't really last that long.
What's the most valuable franchise in the NBA right now, Bomani? And would you have believed when I told you that with Mark Jackson and all the smirks that he was giving to Mark Jackson, that it would one day be the Golden State Warriors by a mile? You would have thought I was crazy.
No, in a world with the New York Knicks in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, no, it is crazy. Like, he's pulled this off. He just has this knack of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Like, remember when they won the championship and he gave credit to whoever it was in the front office for getting guys to all those great contracts? Translation, way to work these suckers and not give them as much money as they probably deserve. And I was like, what are you talking about, right? He said something crazy about Steph, I feel like, up there. I was like, what are you doing? His latest, what are you doing? After, by the way, the two timeline situation where he tried to win for now and later, which was hubris, just the ultimate hubris. You can't do that in this league. But anyway, now we are here. Some fans sent him an angry email about the current state of the franchise. And for whatever reason, and this happens from time to time, Joe Lacob replied. He, as the kid said, had time. I am trying to find word for word what it is that Joe Lacob said, but the long and the short, Steve Kerr has said that he didn't have a problem with this reply to the email, which I can't promise you that I would feel that way. But Lacob said to the person who said that Jimmy Butler was being utilized improperly because the roster didn't have enough size, and he said he was really frustrated. And Joe Lacob replied, "You can't be as frustrated as me. I am working on it. It's complicated. Style of play. Coaches desire regarding players, league trends. Jimmy is not the problem." And I felt like Jimmy's the only person to come out of this unscathed.
Man, Steve Kerr can read that and say, that's a shot at me. And anytime you have owner emails going out in public, not a great look. It's not something you as an NBA head coach want to deal with at a press conference and have to answer for that. But it's very clear that Joe Lacob wants Jonathan Kuminga and the Moses Moody experiment to work in his favor because he was out here bragging about the two timelines and saying, hey, we can win championships and develop players at the same time. The problem with that is if Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody aren't it, you can't go back and redo those picks, Bomani. That's the thing about being right in the draft is you only got those two swings. And if you strike out on those two swings, then you got to pack it up and say, all right, we made a mistake and we're getting off of this and we're going to go get some veterans. They still haven't moved off the Jonathan Kuminga thing. They haven't. And we're now here where he's making $22 million a year to be getting DNP CDs. And Steve Kerr does not want Jonathan Kuminga out there. He's made it very clear that by benching him in these games in which they need help. I just did the Blazers game. The Blazers are 3-0 against the Golden State Warriors. And Jonathan Kuminga the other night didn't play a single minute in that game in which Stephen Curry had 48 points. It is not a good situation there in Golden State, under 500 here with Jonathan Kuminga in the doghouse. And I got to say, the more that this plays out, I think the Golden State Warriors are losing leverage. And this is the problem by bringing back Jonathan Kuminga when everyone knows he's not here for the long haul, is the more that this plays out, the larger chance that this is a situation where they're going to lose they have to give up an extra first round pick to move off of this guy. It's not a good situation. And Joe Lacob, at some point, he can't be sending those emails out with those kind of particulars, because in this day and age, it's going to get out, dude.
Yeah. And look, Jimmy, you could argue, is not the player that he was, but the player that he is still really good. Steph is not the player that he was, but the player that he is still really good. Like, they're top two guys. I mean, Jimmy's putting up 51 from the floor, 44 from three, 85 from the line. Like, that's what you're getting out of Jimmy Butler. Like, they still have it at the top. But if you weren't going to play Kuminga, then it just had, I mean, they got off a Wiseman a long time ago, right? I have been fascinated by the fact that this one, he just can't let go of. And I said last year, I got a lot of hell for this, where I was like, the discussions were coming up about the idea of LeBron going to the Warriors, which would never happen. But I'm like, hey, don't give up your best young player in order to make that trade. I was like, I would keep Kuminga under them circumstances, but not if it's going to be, if this is what you do.
Yeah, it's not good. I don't think it's Jimmy Butler's fault that they're at where they're at. I think it's a roster problem. I think right now the Golden State Warriors have no athleticism, and the one guy who does seem to have it in terms of like the ability to jump really high and finish at a high level, Jonathan Kuminga, can't get on the floor because Steve Kerr flat out does not trust that guy. It's very clear that he does not trust that guy to play the kind of basketball, and that's why I think style of play is doing a lot of work in that email, because I think what he wants to say, or the implication is, he's not going to be playing the Steve Kerr brand of basketball. The IQ that you need on the basketball court to play with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is about that life. And we're going to try to figure out the best situation here, but that's the coach. And Jimmy Butler is not the problem. It's that they have Al Horford, who's hurt and dealing with a very 40-year-old injury that LeBron knows very well, sciatica. This is a team that does not have much athleticism, and they're forced to play a lot of three-guard lineups. And in today's NBA, man, it can't be Steph Curry is dropping 48 points in a loss. It can't happen when you have a guy who's at this stage of his career, done this much for your franchise, and he is the reason they're number one in valuation on the NBA chart and up there with the Dallas Cowboys. He is the reason, and he can't be out here averaging 30 points a game and being on an under 500 team. That is a problem. And the Golden State Warriors, man, I believed in them this year, but a lot of it was hinged on a 40-year-old Al Horford doing the things he was doing for Boston last year, and he hasn't been MIA for a lot of this season.
Steph Curry turns 38 in March.
We don't. The thing about he and Chris Paul is we don't typically see guys this small playing this deep into their careers and still being effective. Like Chris Paul playing 82 games, starting 82 games for the Spurs last year is just unheard of. Steph Curry averaging 30 at age 38 is unheard of. It's unheard of to see him playing at age 38 at the size that he is, much less being one of the top 10 players in the league. But that's where we're at with Steph Curry. And maybe if you give one thing to Joe Lacob is like, we had to do the two timeline thing because we could never expect Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler to be out here playing at this kind of level. We had to get some young players in here to fulfill that pipeline. But man, when you have a Steph Curry averaging 30 points a game on 50% shooting and 40% from three, you got to build for now. And now it's really hard to do that when Jonathan Kuminga has zero trade value.
I feel like I have always thought the world of Steph Curry, right? Like, I covered that tournament in 08, right? The games at Raleigh. Like, I've been there for a lot of it. I've seen him play at Cameron Indoor Stadium at Davidson, right? And then he got to the NBA, and I feel like for the last 17 years, without even realizing I was doing it, I managed to underestimate him at just about every turn, while also thinking the world of him. And that just continues every year and every day, because there's no way in the world that I thought with the type of game that he had that he could still be like this as it is. I have been able to come up with a but for just about every portion of his career, and he just wipes his ass with every single one of them and then hold it up to my face and be like, smell it. Smell it.
Yeah, how does it taste?
It's right there. But at the same time, outside of that championship in 2022, What are we talking about post Kevin Durant in terms of the Warriors and their performance? And the answer is not really that much. But I think you raised the point. It's kind of because they've underestimated him, one could argue.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And when Joe Lacob is out here in a championship speech and saying, hey, shouts to the organization for putting this roster together and leaving out Stephen Curry and his name and what he's done for the franchise. I think you can safely say that everyone in that organization and everyone in the NBA underestimated Steph Curry, and he is still out here in top 10 in the scoring in the NBA at age 38 is absurd. But I can't see him being moved. I can't see Stephen Curry not finishing out his career with the Golden State Warriors. So it becomes incumbent on the Warriors to put the pieces around him to succeed. And that's why the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes is really interesting here, because Jimmy Butler was pursued by the Phoenix Suns and his contract lines up pretty clean with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so you can see a world in which the Milwaukee Bucks say, we don't really want Jimmy Butler on this team, but we could want all the picks that you have and some of the young players on the Phoenix Suns. So why don't we just all come together and say, hey, Jimmy Butler, I know you couldn't work things out with Phoenix when he was in Miami, but let's get a 3-team trade here. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green playing for the Warriors one last time for Steph Curry to make one last championship push. And he's got Giannis on his team, which got to give Jimmy Butler credit for how well he's played with Golden State when he's healthy. But he ain't Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's why things are really interesting for me.
I will say this. The Phoenix attempts to get Jimmy Butler were a full-on clown show. It was the dumbest. I'm fairly aware of what was going on with that one. It was stupid. Like, that's the best that I'll say, that I'm comfortable saying right now, is I trust that Phoenix will find a way to mess it up if it comes down to doing that. By the way, somehow they are better than we thought that they would be. I want to throw one last thing at you before we get out of here. How do you think this last year of LeBron, well, maybe it's not the last, but the LeBron Lakers 25-26, where LeBron can have games, but it's obvious he's 40-something years old. It's a world where Austin Reeves can average 30 points a game when he doesn't have a calf injury, and where Luka's gotten himself in super duper shape, but it hasn't quite been MVP level ball as I thought that it would be. But how do you think this goes for this team?
They got to do something here because that defense is atrocious. They don't get back on defense, and a lot of it is Luka Doncic. He doesn't have the energy to be the 40-point scorer, and who does have the energy to be 40-point scorer, 10 assists a game guy, and also run back on defense. But of the top 10 slowest guys in miles per hour defensively in the NBA, there's only one team that has multiple guys in that top 10. And the Lakers have 3 of them in Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic. They don't move. They don't play defense in the way that you have to in today's NBA to win championships. And so they got to find a way, Bomani, to upgrade defensively, because they're going to get wiped out in the first round if they play the defense that they're having here. I don't think JJ Redick, as you saw with the rotation last year in the playoffs, that he went small for basically 48 minutes last year, did not trust Jackson Hayes, did not trust the bigs to play defensively what they needed to in the playoffs. They got to figure out a way that they can get some actual athletes out there and activity on the wing to cover up for 3 very offensively dominant players. I suspect you're going to hear a lot of Austin Reeves trade talks here in the next few weeks, because I don't know if they're going to move off of LeBron, certainly not going to move off of Luka. But Austin Reeves, a guy that is, I think, duplicitous, not duplicitous. What's the word I'm looking for?
Repetitive, I think, is probably the best way to put
repetitive, where he's
redundant.
A little bit redundant. His skill set of being a great ball dominant guy who can score and pass. You already got 2 of the best all time at it, Luka Doncic and LeBron James on the team. And so there's a lot of diminishing returns here with Austin Reeves. And I got to wonder if he's the guy that gets moved at the trade deadline to try to upgrade defensively, because this team, it can't have 3 offensive juggernauts that don't play any defense.
2 things. One, I make that duplicitous mistake often. It was relatable content.
Duplicative? There. It's not the word I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think duplicative is closer. Duplicitous means he be lying.
Yeah, I know.
But it feels like it, right? Like it feels like it lands there. Number 2, they can trade Austin Reeves. I get it if they do. I really do. But they gonna have to explain that to the locals. The locals are some of the. Hey man, they ain't had it like this before, baby. Just a good old frat red blooded, hairy American winning machine. You know what I'm saying? They ain't quite had it like that, boy.
Well, I'm trying to think of where would Bomani Jones like to see Austin Reeves play? Like
Oh,
what team do you think would be embraced the most by Austin Reeves?
Danny Ainge is on line one. That's. I mean, look, the Celtics, of course, would enjoy it, but Danny Ainge is all. That being said, Danny Ainge. That's not. I'm not casting no aspersions on Danny Ainge because Danny Ainge is also the guy that told Ace Bailey, "I don't know what you think, but you're coming to Utah, son."
Mhm.
Maybe that's the deal, right? To counterbalance some of that Ace.
Yeah, man, Austin Reeves, he's a most improved player of the year candidate. I mean, the way that he's been able to ball out over the last year or so, he's going to get a lot of phone calls about him, and he's on this very low contract, what makes it tough for trades, and he's going to be up for an extension here in a big contract. But there's going to be teams, and that's the thing about Utah is like Walker Kessler makes a lot of sense on the Lakers, but after he had an injury that he's out for the rest of the year, you kind of crossed it off the list like Steve Buscemi, just be able to scratch the Utah Jazz off list. I don't see them making that trade, but there are other teams that could use Austin Reeves as the fulcrum of their offense. And I don't think the Lakers are that team anymore. I think they need to upgrade defensively. And JJ Redick, I don't think he's going to do another year of what they did last year in the postseason and just run these guys into the ground because they need to play both ends of the floor. And right now they're not.
Walker Kessler came in the league in 2022, and he's been on the trade block ever since.
Yep. And he's a restricted free. It's sad, man. We're not out here crying for millionaire NBA players, but when you are out for the season right before you're going to be a restricted free agent, we saw how that played out for Cam Thomas and Jonathan Kuminga and Quentin Grimes this year. That's a tough situation for Walker Kessler and his agent.
I cry for people who got to live in Utah. I don't care. I mean, shout out to NBA young boy, but I just that's not it's not what I would do. Tom Haberstroh, check him out on his Substack, Tom the Finder. Check him out at Yahoo Sports covering the NBA. My man, it's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you, Bomani.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 4 times a week. Ryan Brumley handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Hit the voicemail line, 323-596-7767. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.